In the studio today, along with my good friend Scott Kidd. We're here to record episode number 9 of the Inner Compass Finding Your True North podcast. Man, this has been absolutely amazing. Scott, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about what we got going on today: the influencer effect, the multiplier effect, and the accountability effect. I've been reading a few different books, and they all kind of have these similar mantras, and it all kind of ties into who we put ourselves around
Oh,
and
man.
who it makes us become.
Man, I'll tell you, I think as Scott Harvey said, if 4 of your friends smoke, you're going to be the 5th.
Yeah,
And if 3 of your friends are broke, you're going to be the 4th.
yeah.
That's so true. And, I can say the way I respond to certain things differently is because I've surrounded myself around people that react to problems differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember being around some real hothead people in the welding
Mm-hmm.
industry, and if their soapstone broke, like they
Mm-hmm.
fly off the handle because that was the last piece they had, and it's like, dude, there's a piece of soapstone. Here's another one.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
that ripple effect really seems to transmit into the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, man, that I love the influencer part of this because thinking about just my personal Facebook page for a moment, every single day, I'm posting something about mindset, something impactful because I may not look at myself as an influencer, but I guess in many ways I am. And I guess what I'm really influencing is positivity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm consistently breeding this positivity in the world and just pushing it out to people and saying, hey, this is the way I think about things. Let me tell you about the blessings that happened to me today, or let me tell you what I think we should be thankful for. And I guess that influence really ripples into other people because I've had people message me and say, dude, I needed to hear that.
Yeah, I would agree because that influencer effect, we are the sum of the 5 people we hang around the most, and that, there's a lot of exercises and studies that have been done that, if you hang around the same people, if you hang around people that go to the gym all the time, you're probably going to go to the gym a lot, and if you hang around people that are highly successful, more than likely you're going to become highly successful. And I was thinking about this because we had our meetup in Fort Lauderdale yesterday, and in a way, I never think of myself as an influencer or anything like that. I just same like you. The reason why we gravitate together is because we're both very positive people, and we want to help people, and we want to share in what we're doing, so other people get influenced by that in a roundabout way. But I had a bunch of people come up to me yesterday and say, "Hey, this is the best meetup I've ever been to," and I was really taken aback and very humbled by that because I said, and they asked me, how did you get started doing this? And I said, well, because I went to a lot of these meetups and I didn't learn anything. I didn't really meet anybody, and they tried to funnel me to the back of the room, tried to sell me something. And all I wanted to do was meet one person that was like, would tell me what they were doing and what was going on, or just meet somebody that was, on that same journey or further ahead than I was. And I said, well, it's open because we just want everyone to be able to connect and come together and find those people that you need, that you gravitate with and you can work with and do great things together, because there's power in numbers. The more of us get together, the more we can do, the more positive energy we put together, the more we can make an impact with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was very humbling to me and made me realize that I'm doing this for a reason, and
Yeah,
that I want to help other people find their 5.
that's it. And would you really call that kind of the multiplier effect? Is that it really where that comes into play?
Yeah, that would definitely be the multiplier effect, because without even really trying, the people that you're hanging around, they're helping you just by being the example that you need in your life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the say maybe they're a little more successful in business or something like that. They'll help you without, but just by showing you that they can do it. Because I know there was a lot of things, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that I didn't know anything about any of these things, but I saw somebody else doing it and I was around them. So that made it easy to where I could do it. And then they also helped me. And then I was able to help other people. And it just kind of multiplied. Then next thing you know, we have a lot of people doing the same thing. And it really does multiply everything that is around you, especially if you got that really strong 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure, man. And, I think that energy is really contagious. I
Yeah.
think that's also the multiplier effect. Is I know for me, so many people have met me in a conference or met me at a meetup or something like that, and they say, "Man, your energy, like the
Mm-hmm.
amount of energy that you just, I was kind of down a little bit, and it's like it's just your superpower, like
Mm-hmm.
because I got involved in this conversation, and immediately, like you're kind of this leader of leading the conversation and also just breathing the energy into me. It's just, you're like a breath of fresh air. And I think that's so cool. And I know I've met you in person as well. And it was the same way, like when we would join both of us
Yeah.
into a circle of people, next thing you know, man, like the entire room around us is laughing and, we're
Yeah.
smiling and it's just so much fun, just like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
It's just infectious.
Yeah, it's misery loves company, but happiness is contagious.
Oh, it
And
is.
and I noticed that too because like it might have just been you and I and maybe a couple other people, and the next thing you know it was 10, 20. There's a bunch of people around us, and we were just because we were talking about a lot of stuff that people needed to hear, and that we were having a good time, and we were trying to bring more people in.
That's
So
right.
and it kind of multiplied that whole group and that whole section. And I remember when we were going to go to lunch, it was like, "Hey Scott, where are we going to lunch?" I said, "Let's go downstairs." And then next thing you know, it was 5, 10, 20. The next thing you know, it's 30
And
people, and
half the restaurant full.
the restaurant full. And then they're telling us, "No, we don't have a table for 30." And we're like, "Yeah, you do."
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you
Yeah,
do. We
you
took a whole section of the restaurant. We really did. And that's the thing is I think that that's the magical part about it, in my opinion, is it's not like you did it for pride or ego. It's because you just wanted to truly help and you wanted to
do.
be
Yeah.
surrounded around good people and have great conversations. And we did nothing special. We weren't fake. We were
No.
just being genuine, like, hey man, y'all want to go to lunch with us?
Yeah,
And
let's go.
because of this influence
Yeah.
and because of this, the multiples of other people that was going out and gathering other
Yeah.
people. Hey, I'm going to grab my partner and I'm going to go
Yeah.
grab this guy. I had a
Yeah.
great
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation with him. Then we show up at the restaurant. We need 30
Yeah.
seats.
Yeah, there was first it was like 5, 10 of us, and then next thing you know, it was 5, 10, 30. Yeah, we need 30. And they're like, we
Yeah.
can't. Like, yeah, you can. Come on.
So, I want to talk about this for a minute. It might be the wrong time, wrong place, but I don't think so. Is identity and, and,
Yeah.
and how identity really ties into this multiplier effect is, I think sometimes identity can be tied to a job. It can be tied
Mm-hmm.
to a position at a job. It
Mm-hmm.
can be tied to maybe just being a husband or a father. But identity, when you look at expanding your identity to just being a good person,
Mm-hmm.
to just being that a person that has accountability,
Mm-hmm.
I think that identity really starts to multiply as a long-term effect, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because if your identity is way bigger than you,
Mm-hmm.
what you're to be in life is way bigger than being a dad or a husband. It's all these people you meet. It's like kind of discipleship, right? It's like going
Mm-hmm.
out here and just breathing the good into the world consistently. And all those people came to sit at tables with us because we're just sharing our journey, sharing our story, and being positive. And I think some people were down that they hadn't met that right person yet, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they came there to meet that next investor, that next sponsor, that next partner, and they weren't finding it, but yet they see this big draw of crowd,
Hmm.
and they're like, that's the room I want to be in.
Yeah, and also, I know that what has helped me sometimes at those conferences and stuff is just like, you want to gravitate towards people that are kind of like-minded and stuff like that. And when you see like you're not really sure who to talk to or what have you, you feel that energy. You're like, oh, well, that's it. That's who we need to be around, and then maybe my guy or my lady is in that crowd. And your identity, like you said, is not all those things. Your identity is kind of mixed in with your integrity and everything, and what you do when people aren't watching, and it's all it's all those things that are mixed in, that is your accountability. You have to be accountable to yourself, and you have to look in the mirror, and that those five people will keep you accountable. If they're truly in alignment with you and your interests and everything, and are really there to share your journey, they will keep you accountable. If you say you're doing something, you don't want to let them down. So that you got to follow through, and you got to be the guy that does what they say they're going to do. If not, then you probably need to find a different place, or maybe you need to reflect and look in the mirror and go, hey, I need to be accountable to doing what I say I'm doing, because I'm not going to live the life that I want to live.
Man, I think it just came to me, and I'm just going to spit it for a minute. I think if I the magic, the most thing I could ever wish for is if somebody's like, man, who is Eddie Austin? What is his identity? Who is that guy? And they're like, these three things. Man, that guy, he's a man of God,
Hmm.
and he's a child of God, and really, that is probably one of the most integral guys and most accountable people you'll ever meet. Like he's the real deal. Like
Hmm.
I think that was what I would really want somebody to identify me as as that I'm a man of God. I'm integral. Like I'm full of integrity. That's all I am. How I do anything is how I do everything, and I'm accountable. Like you call me up with an issue, a problem, ask me to mentor you. Like, dude, I'm gonna change your life. Like as
Hmm.
long as you show up ready, I'm gonna change your life through one conversation or many.
That's
And
it.
I think that's it, man. For you, for as long as I've known you, I would say the same thing. Like, man, if I was getting ready to go into battle, there'd be a couple phone calls I'd make, and one of them be Scott Kidd, man. He's my guy. Like,
Yeah,
he gets me.
same here. Because when I think of you, I think of a very a person that has a highest regard for integrity, and then a person that's always very thoughtful and leads with his heart, because great leaders lead with their heart.
Oh man, that's so true. Because you can tell when people lead with ego and pride because they're not afraid to hurt somebody else. But
Hmm.
when somebody leads with their heart, they're careful with the words. They have a lot of wisdom, and
Hmm.
before they speak and before they do things, they seem to have this amazing tendency to think about how my words could affect the other person. And that's one thing, as I've been, very very fast to listen but very slow to speak, because I really
Hmm.
want to think about my words could have a lasting impact. So I want to listen to every single thing. I want to be a great listener. And I've been coined for that many times. I'm a great listener. I'm listening to everything, and then I'm able to repeat things back. And I think that really comes down to heart, because people with a big heart have a tendency to truly care about the person that's speaking, and
Hmm.
they're able to listen, and they're not thinking about the very next thing they're going to say, or
Hmm.
they're really just in the moment. They're just pleased to be having this conversation right now.
Yeah, and I think that also, like a great leader's leading with their heart, because they're not only accountable to themselves, but to all the people they're involved with. So it matters what they say and what they do, because they have the overall vision of how this is going to affect the team, the group, and all the people they interact with. It's a very heartful way of looking at the big picture, because
Yeah.
you have to be empathetic to everybody's situation and be able to give them proper guidance by just being accountable, one, to yourself, but also to the team and to everyone involved, because you don't want to get this deal and screw over the other team. It's not a battle to win. It's a battle for negotiate and make it to where it's amiable for both sides and everyone involved. Because if it's not, then it's not a deal. It's
Right.
it's a contract. It's not a deal for everybody involved if it's lopsided.
No, no. I'd also say I'm getting a little more comfortable. You know, the cool part about these podcasts is throughout these reps, I've done 3 podcasts with 4 other people as guests on my show recently, and I've noticed that this is such a comfortable setting, and to be
Hmm.
able to have these conversations is really relaxing to me.
Yeah.
And I got to say that accountability is like a mirror. It's not
Hmm.
punishment.
No.
And I got to say, accountability really is looking in the mirror and realizing not to punish yourself, but to just get better at it. And it's really not punishment. It just look at it, be accountable. Because true freedom requires structure, right?
Hmm.
It really does. And it's not when someone is holding the standard that really when somebody starts falling apart. When like if you hold yourself to a certain standard, that's just who you are. It's what you
Hmm.
do. Some of the greatest leaders that I follow, and I know you do too. John Maxwell and Dr. Benjamin Hardy and all these guys. If they say they're going to write a book,
Hmm.
you're just waiting on the launch date.
Yeah.
They're going to do it. They follow through.
It happens. When you do that, and that's what I work very hard at, is being that guy, keeping my word, being accountable to where I can look at myself in the mirror. And when it doesn't have to be an awful thing, when you look in the mirror, you can say, okay, well, just be accountable to yourself and say, hey, well, that didn't go quite how I planned. That I didn't do. That I did do. But if you're honest with yourself, then it only makes you better. But just that accountability, you have to do that self check, because if you
Yeah.
can't be accountable to yourself, you can't be accountable to anybody else, and then you're really not doing the work for yourself, so you can do work for others.
I'd also say bad news is like fruit. It doesn't age well. Just
Hmm.
deliver it. And
Hmm.
at the end of the day, not everything goes right, does it?
No.
And when it doesn't go as planned, which most things don't, just say, "Hey, we had some stuff happen, and
Hmm.
and this is what we're doing to fix it." But don't wait until somebody else tells them about it. Like just be accountable. I think that's really the accountability effect that we're really digging in on here. Is when things just start going sideways, just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we've had some bad apples here, man,
Hmm.
and this is what we're doing to fix it." And I think people really appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
I think people appreciate when you can just be real.
Yeah. I remember one time, just a quick story, as I was thinking about that, with your fruit analogy there. We had some rotten fruit, rotten fruit this day. We were getting ready for the hurricane, and we were struggling to get this boat off the deck, and then we got it down and everything else, and then I left and came back, and we had to take some scaffolding down and all this stuff, and nobody had a forklift or anything else, and we're there, and the mate was there, and there was a couple of boats involved, and they were all kind of struggling, and the crew was all there, and they were all just kind of, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And then I kind of came up, and I was like, looked at it, I looked around, I was like, yep, a couple of challenges.
Couple of challenges, he said.
And I started laughing, and they're like, they started laughing. And I was like, all right, so how are you going to take this down without the forklift? And they're like, oh, we got the davit on the boat. Okay. And I'm like, all right, let's do that, but let's think this through first. But
Yeah,
it's only a couple of challenges. We had to push through all the rotten fruit to find the good ones,
yeah,
and then make it happen. But it's just, some of those, it's just the way you look at it. If you make the story in your head that, hey, this is hard, this is tough, this is going to be really hard. It will be really hard.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember I've got this story that's kind of recalling in my memory, and it was on one of our podcasts we did together. You had took over a project, a man's boat that had been completely done wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
you had went in there kind of with a notepad, and you tell the story way better than I do, but the guy essentially was kind of freaking out a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of said, "Hey, this is okay." You're like your general demeanor, like you remember that story
Mm-hmm.
you're telling me about?
Yeah, it was, and it was mainly just because of this particular gentleman. He was just a diamond of a guy, and I could tell he was really over frustrated because he had been taken advantage of. And I said, and it was just because of who he was that I said, well, I'll be on the boat 8 o'clock in the morning and I'll sort it out. So I took the stack of paper and he kind of just breathed that. He said, what are you going to do? I said, not sure, but I'll start tomorrow, Monday morning, fly back today, and I'll go and sort it out tomorrow, and I'll just keep going at it until I get it done. And I said, I don't know the solution. There may not be some solutions to some of the issues, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, what he probably seen in you without even realizing was that integrity, that accountability, the conviction in your voice, the honesty. Like the real
Mm-hmm.
honesty is, hey, what are you going to do? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know yet.
Yeah.
You didn't shine on anything. All you said
No,
was, hey, I don't know yet,
but I'll
but
be there.
but
But
I'll
I'll
be
be
there,
there
and you're going to
until it's
show up.
done. Yeah. And that's, a big part of what has made me successful in a lot of different things. And I know yourself too, is just showing up. And you
Yeah.
keep showing up relentlessly and just keep on showing up, because people ask me a lot of times, like, how do I get to work on yachts? How do I start in real estate? How do I start my own business and these kind of things? I said, well, just keep showing up. Show up early, show up often, and just keep doing it until one, you tell your mind that you're not going anywhere, and then to show all the other people around you that you will show up and do the work, and other people will gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
It's that influencer effect that people will just kind of gravitate to you. And then once you have those people around you, the multiplier effect. And then if you keep being accountable to yourself, it'll all come. It's not without hard work, and it's not without a lot of dedication, but you put all those three together and you can make yourself into an unstoppable force.
Yeah. Well, I think I just added one more thing, and I got to thinking about this. The Last Lecture is a great book anyone should read. But to think about life as the last lecture, there's one more thing I guess I would not really add to my identity, but I would add to my eulogy would be that guy always showed up. That
Hmm.
guy was always there. And I think that's one of the things we should probably talk about at some point is writing your eulogy.
Hmm.
How would you want to be remembered? Writing your last lecture, what would that look like?
Yeah, we definitely could do a whole podcast on that.
100%, man. Because at the end of the day, I think that's one of the switch things that went off in my mind is I immediately thought, Eddie, why are you messing around with some of these other circles?
Hmm.
They're not complementing who you want to become. You need to get around different people,
Hmm.
and you need to get around this multiplier effect, man. How can you multiply what your thoughts are? You got to surround yourself around people that also multiply. And
Hmm.
then another thing is I needed to be around people that showed up to meetings on time. I needed to be around people that showed up when it most mattered. So
Hmm.
I had to let go of some groups just so I could make sure that I was around the accountability, so that accountability effect would play into my life as well. Because I really started thinking about, man, how do I want to be remembered every
Hmm.
single day? That's what really the BEX means on the end of my name. Is I'd kind of died to my old self. The less accountability, the less multiplier, the less powerhouse of a person to become the most extraordinary version of myself. And that new version was Eddie, how do you want to be remembered?
Mm-hmm.
Is it showing up every day? Is it leading with integrity? Is it leading with your heart? And that's what I ask repeatedly. Is these are the things? And I say all this not to brag. I say all this because it has been life changing for me, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that anyone listening can adopt some of those things in their life. I hope that you've adopted every episode into your life as lessons and applied them. You know, you can read 30 books a year, but if you are not applying the things that you're reading, like the
Mm-hmm.
lessons, like it's one thing to have a mentor, but like for you, like you wrote a letter to yourself in the future.
Yes.
You know, you write affirmations. Like you either read that out of a book, learned it from a podcast, or learned it from a mentor, and you started applying it to your life. And that is powerful.
Yeah. And go, no, go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
No, I think that was end of rant, period. I
Yeah,
guess we'll say
no,
what the young kids would say, period.
I guess that's what they're saying now. But it just goes to show you, all the things you read. You can do all those morning things or what have you, but if you don't apply those things, if you're not accountable to the reason why you're doing those things,
Yeah.
then you're really just kind of going off in different directions. And I've recently decided and I'm going to start writing this down every morning, like once a month, kind of do an audit of what's working, what's not working. Because
Oh, I love that.
weekly I do like kind of a review that Dr. Jamil gave me, that just kind of check in or rate like how things went, what went good, what went bad, what am I going to do differently, what can I get rid of, and there's several things I noticed like over time, because I'm always looking at, you know, like yourself, looking at, well, these groups, are those really where I need to be? And I'm always looking at, trying to find more people, more like-minded people, and people that are further ahead to where I can challenge myself, because I know that if I don't do that, I'm going to stagnate, and I'm just going to kind of just be like on that hamster wheel. And I'm going to get very frustrated and probably start just doing those things that are really not going to get me where I can be the best person that I can be for everyone around me.
Absolutely, man. That's just so true. And I've learned a lot from you on just the things you said and the different things. And I've even started adopting the things that you write. I actually have a book right here on my desk that I
Nice.
write in the mornings. And
Perfect.
I'll share one of the things.
Okay, cool.
This was also a journal. I love journaling. I think journaling is very special as well,
Yeah.
especially before bed. That's one of
Yeah.
the things I've done before. Um, here is this was one. I'm going to read. This was a very vulnerable moment, so I'm going to share this. I'm sure I'll get judged, but this was on a Saturday morning, and I did this as a practice, and I wrote down at the top. This was just, I guess, something that had came to me, and I think it was because we had done a lot of mentorship calls that week, and this was at the end of the week. I was kind of left with this feeling, so this is what I wrote down: people don't believe in me. Now that was pretty impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put down, people do believe in me. People are still here. They believe in me. And then I wrote the people: my wife, my daughter, my partners, my family, the people in my community, the people that pay me for mentorship, the people that tell me they believe in me, and the ones that ask if I can save their family.
Mm.
And then I put, Lord, help me to become more so I can help more people.
Mm.
And
Ah,
that was one of the things I wrote down. And, thinking about that, I put down immediately what came to my mind. And what came to my mind was, man, all 10 people didn't sign up. They don't
yeah.
believe in me. And that's the way I was felt. That was what I was left with. But at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, people do believe in me. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
believe in me, like yourself and like my
Yeah.
partners.
Definitely, I definitely do. I
And that's the
mean,
thing. I think you have to remind yourself sometimes that You have to look in the mirror and you have to
Definitely.
say, hey, man, what you just said first wasn't so true.
Yeah.
What backs that up?
Yeah, and it's that same exercise where, like, when what you're feeling right now, like, people don't believe in me, and then you write, people do believe in me. Then you write all the reasons why people do believe in you and who does. That's all the proof, and then that other one goes away because people do believe in you.
Yeah.
You know, you have more. If you really think for 1 second, just write down, like, I'm grateful for X person, my wife. The list is going to get pretty long,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you know, and then you start to feel better, and you're like, you know what, you know, the people did believe in me because they did show up, but maybe they didn't sign up.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe it's, and it's a great exercise that I do every morning. That, you do the pot, do the negative that you wake up with, or whatever
Yeah.
has been you've been struggling with. Then you do the positive. Then you do all the reasons why that's positive, and then you tie some kind of emotional work into it, the reasons why, that is, and then some kind of action points that evokes that emotion, because then you're like, you know what, that's definitely not true. you know
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just, we are the stories that we tell ourselves. So, one, tell yourself a great story and write your own story. Write your own Odyssey. Write your own superhero comic, or whatever you're into.
Yeah.
You be the hero because you are.
Yeah.
And that is such a great exercise. And that's one thing I've talked about that I will start doing, is writing something before I go to bed, because usually I just kind of I read. I have that future letter that I read when I get up in the morning, and then I read it right before I go to bed, because I want that to be the last thing before I lay my head down, just because that's the last thing that's in there. And then I
Hmm.
usually say, thank you for another great day. I'm going to sleep now, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
thank you, God, for a great day.
Yeah.
And then I get up in the morning and I say, thank you. There's something that someone said to me early in the morning. He said, God, give me what I've asked for, or something better. And I started doing that in the morning. And funny enough, the things keep getting better and better.
Isn't that cool? Well,
Yeah.
the thing somebody told me one time, Eddie, you pick this up every day.
Hmm.
You pick up the pen every day. And I needed to hear this that time. Are you writing a sob story? Or are you writing an inspirational story? And I'm going to tell you, man, everybody likes to come back.
Hmm.
And that hit hard. Like it really did.
Hmm.
I was like, wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm writing an inspirational story.
Yeah.
That was my answer to that. And that's the thing is yeah, you're going to go through some hard times and you're going to go
Yeah.
through some times and I think you have to ask yourself, you have to go back to the top of what we talked about. Are you being an influencer or are you being influenced by
Influenced
others?
by others. Yeah.
And then the next, are you around multipliers or are you around the negative?
Yeah.
What are you surrounding yourself with? And then I
Yeah.
think last, ask yourself is there any accountability and is there an accountability effect? So to go back like 1, 2, 3, that influencer effect is so powerful.
Hmm.
And I think number two is that multiplier effect is very powerful. And I think the most important that solidifies the other three, which is probably the rebar and the concrete,
Hmm.
is the accountability.
Yeah, that's the rock that you build everything from. Is if you're accountable for yourself, you will be able to influence people and multiply other
Yeah.
people. But if you're not, you won't be showing up. You won't be there for the people, so you won't be having influence. You won't help them multiply, and you definitely won't be multiplying your life. Doing those three things, you'll definitely attract these people that will be around you. And that's one of the things that I say is, I'm not looking for something. I say I'm attracting. Like, if you're looking for capital or what have you, I'm attracting capital from these sources.
I
And by
love
saying
that.
that, by saying that, you know, just starts to bring it. And you'd be surprised who reaches out to you. With what we're doing, we're always looking for people and partners, and trying to focusing on attracting capital, and so we can grow ourselves, and find different ways to get things done, different solutions. And when we're attracting those things, you never know where it's going to come from, but it comes.
Well, the really cool part of the other day was I was in a meeting and there was some people in there that hadn't been around me that long, but I must have done a really good job because one of them said, "Hey Eddie, I'm selling a house and I'm either going to 1031 exchange it or I need to put it in some kind of investment. Do you have anything?" This person's never invested with me before, and that always continues to surprise me, and it shouldn't because I think I've done a good job about raising capital, attracting capital, and
Hmm.
being that resource. And it's sometimes it does catch you off guard when somebody says, "Hey, I
Yeah.
got 140 grand. You got a place to put it?"
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, well,
I
yeah,
you got
I got
another
somewhere.
140.
Yeah. 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 It's when you are doing all those three things, main thing, it starts with that accountability. If you're accountable and you keep showing up, people gravitate towards that, and they love that influence, and they know it's going to multiply that. Like, I think you were saying one time, like, you know, somebody said to you, well, I can't do what you do, but I want to get along for the ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I see that a lot, just, with you and, myself included, just like people, like, we're not sure what's going on here, but we want to be a part of it.
yeah, yeah. And the cool part is after people are around me long enough, because I've had people that I've mentored that now are either partners or employed by me.
Hmm.
And those people had started out by saying that I would love to do what you do, but I either can or don't know how. So
Hmm.
I'll hire you as a mentor. And then by the end of it, like, man, they're spreading their wings and I'm just so impressed by them. And
Hmm.
it's because we empowered them. We truly, and they're like, let's go do that. Like, let's go
Yeah.
buy that plumbing company. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, I know
Okay.
before you were like, no, we need to have 6 or 7 meetings. And, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
amazing, the transformation. And it's not like we pushed that transformation. We just was there. Like they just was surrounded by us.
Yeah. And sometimes all people needed was a chance, or maybe no one ever put any confidence in them. And because I've seen that a lot with just people I've had working on the boats and stuff. And, you give them responsibility, and next thing you know, they're halfway around the world running their own operation. And it makes me, like, very proud that, like, these people are now having an impact on other people,
Yeah.
and it's bringing it, into just so much more influence, that they're affecting more people, and it's just getting bigger and bigger because, it's, and I don't take any credit for that. I just tell them, because they usually say, "Hey, you helped me so much." I said, "No, you had it in you all along.
That's
I
it.
just maybe opened the door for you, or just kind of gave you a hand up because maybe somebody didn't allow you to realize that you had that in you."
One of my favorite sayings is Henry Ford: if you think you can or you think you can't, both are right.
Yeah, they're
And
both
that's the
definitely right.
truth. Some
Yeah,
people tell you, I can't do that. And they're right. And then some people say, I might not know how to do that, but I can do that.
yeah,
Both of those answers are right. One just has to overcome more.
yeah. And if you, a lot of that goes along, if someone just shows you, or even just you see somebody else doing it, and like a lot of the stuff in the real estate I learned from YouTube, and just being around other people. And I remember a partner that I have, that and we still own, with a couple other people, this 13 unit by Daytona. And I remember when I first started going to her meetup, because it was like one of the best ones I'd ever been to, was the one after, when I decided to just keep going to more meetups. It was the
Yeah.
first one where they didn't funnel me to the back. And met her, and the people were just hanging out talking about real estate. And I remember one of the first things she said to me is like, well, these guys were buying this like 25 unit apartment building. And then she said, and she was sitting there and she was kind of thinking it through. And she said to me, she goes, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And I said, yeah, well, why am I not? I was like, I can do that too.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it was like an aha moment, like, yeah, I can do that too, and then that's how we ended up becoming partners eventually, just because we saw somebody doing it and it influenced us, and it was a
Yeah.
multiplier effect because when we got together, we were great partners together, and we were accountable to each other, and we still own that property today, and it's doing very well, much better than we anticipated.
That's a lovely thing, man. I've always strived to do. Growth doesn't come in comfort. It comes with being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always stayed in that realm of things of stretching myself beyond imagination to do
Mm-hmm.
things that just doesn't seem rightfully achievable.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, my hope or would be my dream would be I inspire somebody else to say, well, he did it. I
Mm-hmm.
can do it too.
Yeah, and it's if you when you see somebody do something and you didn't know was possible before, that is very powerful. I know it
It
has
is.
been very powerful for me. And when you take a look around just everywhere and everything that we look at in our rooms and our houses or everywhere we walk or drive, every one of those things was a crazy idea at one point.
That's right. That's
Somebody
right.
had to think of it, and somebody, oh, that's crazy. You can't, a car with wheels? Nah, we got carts, motor? Nah, that'll never take off.
Yeah. They do. Like those amazing ships you run.
Yeah,
Nobody'd think that thing would float. How much does it weigh?
yeah, no, it's like all those, all those things when you think about it. Like, I remember when I was a kid in Jamaica, this yacht came in, and I don't know, I had to have been about 15 or something like that. And I saw these guys working on it, and I was like, well, that'd be really cool. And I didn't really think of it that it was a job. And yet, probably some 15 years later, that's what I was doing. It was kind of wild that, like, I didn't even know it was a career.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
showed up that day and found out it was.
Right. Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, I think we need to wrap this thing up, but it's been another amazing time well spent. And
Yeah.
Scott, where can people find you?
You can find me at investwithscottkid.com. You'll find the Yacht Captain Investor podcast and all my social media links. And soon to find the Inner Compass to find your true north will be on there too, along with all the other stuff we're working on. And feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. So Eddie Austin here, eddieaustinbex.com. You can find me there. And again, on all social media. If you want to know what we're up to, what we're doing, you can find podcasts I've been on as a guest, including my podcast. And again, the Inner Compass podcast, which is coming soon. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Please like and subscribe and smash that share button so you can share this with somebody else and it impacts their life as well. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.